This Valentine's Day and President's Day weekend was supposed to be a time for celebration, romance, and a much-needed break from the winter grind. But as the dates drew closer, a sense of unease began to settle over the Northeast. The weather forecast had everyone on edge. News anchors and meteorologists warned of a possible major winter event, and social media buzzed with speculation. People swapped stories of past storms, remembering the chaos and beauty of blizzards gone by. Models hinted at a massive winter storm targeting the Northeast corridor, stretching from DC all the way up to Boston. The graphics on TV screens showed swirling clouds and bold red warnings, painting a picture of a region bracing for impact. Millions wondered if their holiday plans would be snowed in. Would romantic dinners be canceled? Would families be able to travel? The uncertainty was almost as stressful as the storm itself. The threat was real, a potential blockbuster nor'easter, the kind that shuts down cities, grounds flights, and leaves highways deserted. Memories of past storms, like the infamous blizzard of 2016, were fresh in everyone's minds. The timing, right over a busy 3-day weekend, made it even more nerve-wracking. Travelers scrambled to change plans, and businesses braced for a possible hit to one of the year's busiest weekends. Forecasters watched for signs of a rapidly intensifying storm, fueled by Atlantic moisture and cold air. Every new computer model run was scrutinized, every satellite image analyzed for clues. The hype built as models showed different scenarios, but most agreed. Something big could be brewing. Some predicted feet of snow, others a dangerous mix of ice and wind. The uncertainty only added to the tension. As the weekend approached, though, the forecast began to shift. The storm's path wobbled and new data suggested it might not hit as hard as first feared. The puzzle pieces didn't quite fit, and the threat to the Northeast started to fade. Meteorologists updated their predictions, dialing back the warnings, and offering cautious optimism. Instead of a record-breaking blizzard, the region faced a much less dramatic outcome. Light snow fell, but it was manageable, just enough to remind everyone it was still winter, but not enough to bring life to a halt. Our job was to keep you informed, tracking every change and making sure you had the latest updates. Behind the scenes, teams worked around the clock, ready to sound the alarm if conditions changed. The early signs pointed to major disruption, but the final picture was far less severe. People breathed a sigh of relief, grateful that the worst had passed them by. Sometimes the biggest storms are the ones that never quite materialize. But the anticipation, the preparation, and the collective sigh of relief are all part of the story of winter in the Northeast. What made this storm so concerning? To understand the magnitude of what was brewing, you have to look at the unique combination of meteorological factors coming together. This wasn't just another winter storm on the map. This was a potential blockbuster, the kind of event that could paralyze cities, disrupt travel for millions, and become a defining weather moment of the season. It was all about the ingredients. Like a chef assembling a perfect recipe, the atmosphere was mixing together just the right elements for a major event. Abundant moisture, strong energy, and a clash of air masses. A powerful cross-country system was pulling in Gulf moisture, prime fuel for a big event. This surge of warm, humid air from the south collided with frigid Arctic air dropping down from Canada, setting the stage for explosive development. The moisture plume was so pronounced it was visible from space, stretching like a river across the continent. Several low-pressure centers swirled within the larger system, each a potential trigger for heavy precipitation. These smaller centers acted like spinning gears, each one capable of intensifying the storm or shifting its path. Meteorologists watched closely, knowing that the interaction between these lows could make or break the storm's impact. The big question, would these lows merge off the east coast, creating a classic nor'easter? If they did, the result could be a monster storm, with winds whipping off the Atlantic and snow piling up rapidly. If so, the storm would slow down, intensify, and dump snow over the same areas for hours. This stalling effect is what makes nor'easters so dangerous. Cities can go from manageable snowfall to blizzard conditions in a matter of hours, with travel grinding to a halt and emergency services stretched thin. The worst-case track would have brought heavy snow to New York, Philly, and Boston. These cities, home to millions, would have faced not just snow, but also fierce winds, coastal flooding, and widespread power outages. Different models showed different outcomes, some merging the systems, others keeping them apart. The uncertainty was nerve-wracking, with each new computer run offering a different scenario. Would the storm's energy consolidate, or would it fizzle out before reaching the coast? This made the forecast incredibly complex and high stakes. Meteorologists debated every detail, weighing the latest data and historical analogs, knowing that a small shift in the atmosphere could mean the difference between a routine winter storm and a historic blizzard. Our team spent days analyzing every update, knowing millions of holiday plans hung in the balance. Airlines, city officials, and families all waited anxiously for the latest forecast, hoping for clarity as the storm approached. The fate of the Northeast depended on whether these atmospheric pieces would combine. It was like watching a high-stakes chess match, with every move and countermove playing out in the skies above. In the end, the merger didn't happen as feared. The storm's ingredients never fully came together, sparing the region from the worst-case scenario. The blockbuster scenario faded, but the science behind it was fascinating. Each near miss teaches us more about the atmosphere's complexity and the challenges of forecasting. Sometimes the atmosphere keeps us guessing until the very last moment, even when the big storm doesn't materialize. The process of tracking, analyzing, and understanding these systems is a reminder of just how dynamic and unpredictable our weather can be. This week, meteorologists across the country had their eyes glued to the skies, tracking not just one, but three major weather systems. First, there was a slow-moving main storm pushing up from the southeast, gathering moisture as it crept along. Then, racing down from Canada, a fast-moving clipper system threatened to inject a blast of cold air into the mix. And finally, a subtle but potentially crucial low-pressure area formed along the edge of the main storm, almost like a wild card waiting to tip the balance. Each of these systems had its own personality, its own path, and its own potential to change the forecast in a big way. That secondary low, while easy to overlook, could have been the key to unlocking a much bigger storm. Sometimes, it's the smallest features on the map that end up making the biggest difference, especially when they interact with larger, more powerful systems. The main storm was loaded with moisture, primed to deliver heavy rain, or snow, depending on the temperature. The Canadian Clipper, on the other hand, was all about speed and cold air, slicing through the atmosphere and threatening to turn rain into snow in an instant. And that third, sneaky, low-pressure system, it had the potential to pull everything together, consolidating energy and possibly amplifying the storm's impact. The big question on everyone's mind was simple, but the answer was anything but. Would these three systems align perfectly, stacking up to create a powerhouse storm? Or would they miss each other by just a few hours, leaving us with nothing more than a soggy gray weekend? In weather, timing is everything. A shift of just a few miles or a few hours can mean the difference between a winter wonderland, a cold rain, or just a dreary, uneventful Saturday. For meteorologists, this was a true test of skill and experience. They weren't just forecasting one storm. They were trying to predict how three separate systems would interact, merge, or miss each other entirely. It's a bit like trying to predict where three billiard balls will end up after a complicated collision. Except, the table is constantly moving, and the balls are invisible half the time. Every new computer model run brought a fresh set of possibilities, and every update meant rethinking the forecast from scratch. In the end, it was the atmospheric dance between these systems that would decide the fate of the Northeast. Would cities wake up to a blanket of snow, or just puddles and gray skies? The uncertainty was real, and the outcome hung on the tiniest of details, subtle shifts in wind, temperature, or pressure that could tip the scales one way or the other. That's why, at the end of the day, weather forecasting is as much an art as it is a science. It's about reading the signs, understanding the patterns, and sometimes, trusting your gut when the data just doesn't agree. And when three systems collide, the stakes, and the excitement, are higher than ever. As the weekend unfolded, the storm's main impact shifted south. The south saw relentless rain from Texas to the Carolinas, leading to widespread flooding. Rivers and streams rose quickly, and flash flood warnings were common. For many, Valentine's weekend meant watching water levels, not snowflakes. The Northeast was spared because the main low stayed farther south, tracking across Georgia and the Carolinas. The energy that could have fueled a nor'easter was spent as heavy rain in the south. So, while the north braced for snow, the south faced a major rainmaker. This storm became a tale of two regions, flooding in the south, relief in the north. As the south dealt with flooding, the northeast breathed easier. Forecast models showed the threat of a crippling snowstorm fading fast. The feared blockbuster event was now highly unlikely. The main storm tracked too far south to intensify off the coast. Instead of one massive storm, the northeast saw weaker, faster-moving waves of precipitation. Airports and roads stayed open, and holiday plans went ahead. The anxiety faded as the forecast shifted from blizzard to manageable wintry mix. There was still weather to watch, but nothing like the initial threat. The focus turned to light snow, rain, or a wintry mix, depending on location. The monster storm was off the table, but smaller systems still kept forecasters busy. Sometimes, the best news is when the worst-case scenario doesn't happen. In the end, the Northeast saw a gentle dusting, not a blizzard. Light snow fell from West Virginia to southern New England, mostly overnight into President's Day. Most areas saw just a coating to a few inches, more scenic than disruptive. Closer to the coast, snow mixed with sleet, freezing rain, or just plain rain. Higher elevations got a bit more snow, great for ski resorts. Major cities like New York and Philadelphia woke up to wet ground or slush that quickly melted. Travel plans went on, airports stayed open and highways were clear. The storm was a reminder of how forecasts can evolve, and how sometimes, the threat fizzles out. Mother Nature gave the Northeast a break this time. The forecast's trickiest part, the Canadian Clipper and its cold air. If the Clipper had been stronger and slower, it could have locked in deep cold across the Northeast. That would have set the stage for a major snowstorm as the southern system arrived. Instead, the Clipper was weaker and faster, delivering only a glancing blow of cold. The cold air quickly eroded, especially near the coast, as warmer Atlantic air moved in. That's why so many areas saw a wintry mix or rain instead of all snow. The key ingredient for a blockbuster, stubborn cold, just wasn't there. The feedback loop never developed and the big snow event fizzled. Sometimes it's the missing piece that changes everything. The other scenario was a warmer, weaker storm. Exactly what happened. The main system tracked farther south and east, keeping the heaviest precipitation offshore. The Northeast caught only the storm's edge, missing the worst of its core. Cold air retreated quickly as milder ocean air moved in, leading to a messy mix for coastal areas. As models converged on this southern track, forecasters grew more confident. The major storm warnings were dialed back, and holiday plans were saved. Sometimes a small shift in track makes all the difference. The science and the stakes are always high. This holiday weekend storm was a masterclass in meteorological complexity. Multiple systems, shifting tracks and evolving models kept everyone guessing. The potential for a historic blizzard was real, but the final outcome was far tamer. Forecasts evolve as new data comes in. What looks likely days out can change quickly. Our job is to communicate both the risks and the uncertainty, so you're prepared but not panicked. As the event neared, models agreed on a southern track and weaker impact. The puzzle pieces finally fit, revealing a much less threatening picture. Weather forecasting is a continuous process, not a one-time prediction. In the end, the science worked, and the holiday weekend was saved. Sometimes, the best storms are the ones that never arrive.